Okay, we are diving deep today, really getting into the inner sanctum of high-stakes politics.
Hmm.
We're looking at some uh, raw, unfiltered reflections from a major political figure right after an election.
Specifically, Kamala Harris. We're pulling out the most, let's say, surprising insights from excerpts detailing her time in the arena.
Right, and focusing heavily on material from her book, 107 Days.
Exactly. And for you listening, if you want that shortcut to being genuinely well-informed, our mission here is pure extraction.
Going beyond just the headlines.
Totally. We want to pull out those key insights on, navigating power, understanding that tricky internal conflict
And the
stuff.
psychological strategy, it's intense.
It really is. The strategy needed in these modern high-velocity campaigns, this isn't just about policy points, it's the personal mechanics of power.
And we've got quite a stack of sources here. It covers, well, everything.
Yeah, the immediate shock after the campaign loss.
The complicated loyalty test within the Biden administration.
And staff suppression, that whole
Oh.
dynamic.
And what fundamentally drove her, from being a prosecutor onto the national stage. So let's maybe start with the high-cost drama right at the beginning.
Makes sense. That emotional impact of the loss.
Yeah, the seismic impact.
Mm.
The sources paint a picture that's way beyond just disappointment. She describes her initial reaction as being in a state of shock.
Mm-hmm.
Just repeating, apparently, my God, my God, my God. That sounds visceral, like immediate trauma.
And the depth of that trauma is, I think, one of the most compelling parts of the material. She actually compared the feeling
To what?
to the grief I felt when my mother died. Think about that.
Wow, okay.
So this wasn't just a professional setback. It wasn't losing status. She felt this painful, almost existential knowledge of what was going to happen to our country.
So it elevated the political outcome to, personal tragedy? Fear?
Absolutely. That comparison really underscores how intensely personal and high stakes it all felt to her.
And processing that. It sounds incredibly hard. She mentioned her family's first reaction. Just 2 words. Never again. Just flat out.
Wow. Understandable, I guess.
But she found a way through. She notes that writing the book itself, 107 Days, was cathartic for her. It helped mitigate the pain, just like grief, she says.
And that catharsis connects to this really profound analogy she uses.
Which is?
The phantom limb, that feeling.
Another concept, yeah.
Well, think about it. When your whole career, your core purpose is so tied up with having power, being able to act, to legislate.
And then suddenly it's just gone.
Exactly. That sudden hard stop leaves this void. She felt helpless, couldn't reconcile that they couldn't still do something about it.
So the phantom limb pain is still feeling the duty, the responsibility?
Right, but having lost the actual power to do anything.
Yeah.
And for someone dedicated to public service, that's got to be profoundly debilitating.
That level of personal investment, that sense of duty, it must make every political move feel, I don't know, heavier.
Definitely.
Speaking of heavy politics, let's get right into that really complicated, sometimes fractured dynamic with Joe Biden.
Okay.
She stated point blank, he greatly disappointed me and frankly, angered me. That's not the usual careful phrasing you hear in political memoirs.
No, it's not. And what's really fascinating is the specific incident she points to as the moment it all crystallized for her.
Which one?
A phone call right before her debate with Trump.
Okay, high pressure moment.
Extremely. And Biden called, but not to talk strategy or give encouragement.
Then why?
He called to discuss people saying bad things about me, meaning Biden, because they heard she was supposedly saying bad things about him.
Wait, so she's prepping for this huge debate, and the call she gets is about internal gossip, about protecting Biden's reputation.
That's how she describes it.
Why did that solidify the disappointment? Why wasn't it just, an annoying distraction? Why a betrayal?
Because for her, it spoke volumes about where the focus was. Her immediate take was that the call was unnecessary.
Unnecessary given the circumstances.
Right. She concluded his motivation was all about himself, not her performance, not the campaign's goal, not the country. And she goes even further. Suggests his desire for her to win was mainly because she was the only one who would be able to preserve his legacy.
So even her potential success was filtered through his self-interest in her view.
That's the implication. It sounds absolutely exhausting, that political reality.
It really does. And it speaks to that institutional skepticism around the VP position itself, doesn't it?
It really does. Which brings us to that famous political lore. She knew about it.
The outgoing chief of staff telling the incoming one.
Rule number 1, watch the vice president.
Yeah.
She was acutely aware of that.
That's not just some funny story. It actually institutionalizes suspicion.
Exactly. It forces VPs, especially ones seen as having their own ambitions, to constantly, as she put it, over and over again prove my loyalty. That structural distrust is just the background hum to everything.
And this background hum, this structural conflict, it apparently became intensely personal through internal sabotage.
That's a strong claim she makes.
Very strong. She says the president's staff was actively adding fuel to negative narratives about her. And worse, they seemed fine with it.
Like they decided she needed to be taken down a peg.
Yeah, that she should be knocked down a little bit more. And the real tragedy here isn't just the backbiting, it's the consequence.
Which was?
That huge administration resources, things that should have been used for the common goal, were not used to defend the vice president.
That is just the ultimate political cost of that kind of zero-sum thinking, isn't it?
Oh, so?
Well, when staff prioritizes internal turf wars, trying to gain power by undercutting their own teammates.
It undermines the whole administration strategy.
Precisely. They were sacrificing the success of the entire ticket for, what? Internal political leverage. And Harris points out it was totally counterproductive.
It's clear those internal battles take a huge toll, but where did she even develop the armor to survive that kind of environment?
Good question.
Let's look at the foundation of this, incredibly resilient political identity she seems to have. She calls herself an anomaly in her career. What shaped that core drive?
You have to connect it right back to her personal history, her parents, the community that raised her.
Her mother came from India at 19.
Yes, and quickly got deeply involved in the civil rights movement. Growing up in that kind of environment where everyone was fighting for justice, for equality, it basically instilled this duty in her.
A duty to what?
To figure out how you're going to participate. That was the expectation.
And the sources are really clear. This drive wasn't about money or status.
Not at all. She explicitly said she never wanted private practice.
Right.
Her work was always about protecting people and giving them dignity.
That protective nature, where does she trace that back to?
All the way back, being the eldest, her mother telling her from age 2, apparently, take care of your sister. Look out for your sister.
Wow, from age 2.
Yeah. That foundational instruction, you could argue, laid the groundwork for her whole legal career.
That desire to protect, to solve problems, it fueled her climb.
Absolutely. From deputy DA right up to California Attorney General. And remember, she was the first woman and first black person in both roles, all between ages 24 and 51.
And the record is significant. We're talking about securing, $25 billion for homeowners in the '08 crisis?
Yeah, the Back on Track LA program for rehabilitation.
Mandating body cameras. How did she handle the sheer stress of it all? The exposure to horrific cases like child sexual assault. That comes with the job.
She describes herself as fundamentally a problem solver. That's her tendency.
So she processes it by finding solutions.
Yes, find the solution, then immediately move on. No pausing to pat myself on the back, as she puts it.
And managing the stress day to day.
High discipline, working out every single day. It points to a very specific, efficient psychological approach, action over reflection, movement over just sitting with it.
That focus on moving forward, it clearly shapes how she deals with external bias, too, and political pressure.
Seems like it.
She shared some great advice for others who face those limiting expectations. Don't ever limit yourself based on other people's limited ability to see who you are.
Powerful.
And she relies on these mental tools, thinking of mentors like her first grade teacher.
And her mother's words.
Right. Don't you ever let anyone tell you who you are. You tell them who you are. That's core.
And you see that translate into the actual political arena.
Mm-hmm.
Her strategy for debating Trump was fascinating. Less about policy points.
More psychological warfare.
Kinda, yeah. She decided she was going to have fun. Literally wrote a smiley face on her debate pad.
Seriously, a smiley face.
Yep. Her mantra was, the person who's having fun wins.
That's a bold way to face that kind of chaos. It's
Yeah.
about projecting control, maybe.
Exactly. If you look like you're enjoying the fight, you look like you're winning it, regardless of the substance sometimes.
And how did she view Trump's methods?
She calls it useless absurdity. Yeah. Or, deliberate misdirection, gaslighting. Like bringing up that baseless rumor about cats and dogs.
Right. Things designed to distract.
Precisely. Calculated distractions from the core issues, like actual plans for working Americans. But she warns this absurdity isn't random. It's part of a bigger, long-term.
High-velocity plan.
Yeah, decades in the making. She even connected to things like Project 2025.
Okay, let's pause there. For the listener, what's the key takeaway about Project 2025 in her analysis? Why bring that up?
So Project 2025, if you're not familiar, it's this incredibly detailed conservative plan. A blueprint, really. Policy, personnel.
Designed to reshape the executive branch fast if there's a transition.
Right. Harris sees the political gaslighting, the useless absurdity, as tactics. They're designed to distract the public, while the real machinery behind the scenes is working on executing this long-term structural plan.
So the chaos serves a strategic purpose. It's a warning.
That's her perspective, yeah.
Okay, moving to the media landscape. It's always changing. What's fascinating here is her take on podcast power and a tactical regret.
This one really stands out.
She admits she definitely regrets not going on Joe Rogan's show.
That's a huge admission, I think. It says a lot about where influence lies now in modern media. She clearly saw podcasting as this powerful, different kind of medium.
And she wanted to use it.
Yeah, to make her case directly to listeners who might be open-minded, even if skeptical, just like she was willing to go on Fox News to reach a different crowd.
But the regret, it wasn't about ego, right? It was pure political calculation.
Exactly. She explains it as a return on investment calculation, ROI.
Comparing the time spent traveling for a long, multi-hour interview
versus that incredibly precious time spent physically campaigning in key swing states.
So what does that decision and the regret tell us about the trade-offs?
It just illustrates the really painful efficiency needed in modern campaigns. In her view, that Rogan audience demographic, incredibly valuable. Often skeptical, sure, but maybe willing to hear a full argument.
But the trade-off is losing direct voter contact in a swing state.
Right. Sacrificing that ground game for the potential to influence this national, diverse, but very engaged digital audience. The fact she regrets it suggests she now thinks that digital outreach might have had a higher potential ROI than they calculated at the time.
Interesting. Okay, shifting gears slightly.
Yeah.
Her critique of the Democratic strategy, looking back, she didn't hold back there either.
No, she didn't.
Her major policy insight, post-loss, was that the administration should have focused first on immediate family policies.
Things like the child tax credit, affordable child care, paid family leave.
Instead of prioritizing physical infrastructure first.
Right. That's a fundamental critique of their legislative priorities.
Yeah.
Now, just for context for you listening, the infrastructure deal, the CHIPS Act, these were massive achievements. Huge focus on roads, bridges, manufacturing, tech.
Vital long-term stuff.
Absolutely. But her argument is those projects don't deliver the immediate, tangible financial relief that the family policies do. People need to feel the benefit, like now, in their bank accounts, in their daily lives.
So prioritizing that immediate relief first, she thinks, would have been a clearer political win, something voters felt instantly.
That seems to be her retrospective analysis.
And looking forward, she's advocating for some serious structural boldness now.
Definitely.
Her most provocative idea, lowering the voting age to 16. That would be a massive shift.
Huge. But her argument is rooted in necessity. She points out Gen Z, they're highly impacted by climate anxiety, by disruptions in education, housing costs.
So giving 16-year-olds the vote is logical because their future is most at stake.
That's the argument.
Yeah.
And that their votes would rightly shift political priorities towards those huge long-term existential issues.
She also pointed a finger at where the left sometimes fails on outreach, noting the perception that Democrats are often seen as the enemy of entrepreneurship. Her example was very specific.
The Elon Musk one.
Yeah. The mistake, in her view, of not inviting Musk to the White House to talk American manufacturing when other EV leaders were there.
And this really highlights her pragmatic side. She believes leaders have to be willing to put aside personal feelings, political differences.
For the greater good, advancing policy goals.
Right. So failing to include Musk, what are the personal feelings involved, just reinforces that negative narrative that the left only champions certain kinds of businesses, not American innovation across the board.
Okay, so after all this reflection, this grief, this intense self-critique, where does she actually stand on running again? Did she lay out the arguments?
Yeah, she laid out the cases pretty clearly, for and against.
Okay, the case for running.
It's centered on purpose, on idealism, making a difference, offering something uplifting, getting the country back onto what she calls a correct trajectory.
And the case against.
That's intensely personal. It focuses on the sheer difficulty, the heavy toll on your family, and just enduring that process of being constantly misunderstood, even genuinely hated by people who don't know her at all.
That sounds like the ultimate reckoning with the personal cost of aiming for high office.
It really does.
And that synthesis kind of brings us full circle, doesn't it? That
Yeah.
tension between the need for political boldness, stepping into the fight.
Versus the immense, often brutal personal cost that exposure in today's political environment.
And you see that reflected in how she processed the loss itself.
Yeah, she described that initial shock like grief, but then time and the act of writing the book, it provided that catharsis. It moved her towards acceptance.
Just like grief moves towards acceptance, as she put it.
Right, letting go of that phantom limb feeling, allowing her to finally start thinking about what his future role might actually be.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
Thank you.
Harris noted that her younger, maybe more fearless self had to learn to sit with this idea. You can't change everyone. So the question is, what level of disillusionment, or maybe realism, is necessary for a powerful person to transition from being purely an idealist to someone who's truly efficient and effective in politics?
And where's the line in that journey between gaining political wisdom and just becoming jaded?
Exactly. Think about that essential trade-off she herself described, political expediency, that ROI on time, versus maximizing your outreach, even if it means going to uncomfortable places like, say, the Joe Rogan show. Where do you draw that line?